All right, good evening. We'll wait a moment or two so folks can go ahead and get online in our session. We're glad that you were able to take a few minutes out of your day to join us. My name is Michelle Stipp, and I'm the Assistant Vice President of Financial Aid and Enrollment Services here at Roosevelt University. And I'm joined today by Michelle Hayes Sharon, who is our Director of Financial Aid Services at Roosevelt. Before we get started, the way this system works is we can't see you, but we want to know that you're here. So if you just want to use the chat and just pop in where you're joining us from, you can share your state, wherever you might be joining, just so that we know you're here. That would be great. And you can see the chat there. So just go ahead and pop in. We can get a little peek about who's hanging out with us. All right, I see some folks from Chicago. That's not too far from us. It's great to have so many of you joining us. Wisconsin, I see, Naperville, Chicago, lots of Chicago people. Awesome. So Michelle Hayes Sharon actually right now. So she's really close for a lot of you, but we're glad to have you join us. So our goal for tonight is really just to review some of the financial aid materials and details that we have at Roosevelt, talk about our payment plan options, talk about a lot of things that I think parents or family members will find important, particularly as you're thinking about having that student go off to college. But we also want to make sure that you're getting what you want out of this event. That's why I put it on. We wanted to give you an opportunity to ask questions. You've got two financial aid folks here that are ready to answer any questions that you have. So as we kind of move through the content, if you have a question, please pop it in the chat. Michelle may just answer it right in the chat, or she may say, hey, Michelle Stipp, you need to stop for a second so we can answer your question as we go through the material too. So without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Whoop, here we go. So just a little bit about financial aid services. So at Roosevelt, we're structured a little bit differently from other universities where we put everything that's related to student finances kind of in one spot. So whereas some schools may have a financial aid office and then maybe a student accounts office, at Roosevelt, it's a one-stop place. So if you have a question that's involving money, you have one spot to go to. So the financial aid team or the financial aid services team, they're there to help with financial aid questions, but then they can also talk about payment options, payment arrangements. If you have a question about your student account or you're like, what is this charge or how much is tuition? All of those questions can be managed by the financial aid services team. So just to highlight some of the financial aid programs that Roosevelt participates in, we're going to talk about each one of these tonight in a little bit more detail. So federal grants or even institutional grants. So it could be something that the federal government is giving. It could be something from the state of Illinois or Roosevelt. So we'll look at how those are structured. There's also scholarships. So these could be merit-based scholarships. They could be need-based scholarships. They can also be talent-based. If you think about athletic scholarships, those are certainly based upon talent and ability. So we offer those as well. Additionally, there's work study. So a student can work a job on campus. We'll go into how that works too. And lastly, we'll talk about the loan programs, both federal options, private loan options. There are programs for students as well as parents. So how do you apply for all of these things? That's kind of the nice piece of it. It's one application. So we have the free application for federal student aid that when you submit that, that will give us all the details we need to know what you qualify for. Federal money, state money, Roosevelt money, all of that is in one place. Some other institutions may have a separate financial aid application. we try to keep it simple as much as financial aid can be simple. So all we need from you is just that federal student aid application. So to highlight where you can complete this form, got the website listed here for you. And of course, the codes. So 001749. As long as you include that, we will receive your student's information automatically. There isn't anything that you need to send to us. There isn't anything that you need to let us know about, but just make sure that you list us. It does take about 30 minutes to complete the FAFSA. And once we get that, and once your student is admitted to Roosevelt, we can send to you a financial aid offer that kind of outlines everything you're eligible to receive and provide some additional details about options that are specific to you and your student. The application process, again, is pretty straightforward. So it all starts with the FAFSA, which we've already talked about, and then they'll receive that FAFSA information. Once your student is admitted, we're going to send you this financial aid offer. And along the way, there may be other items that we need to collect from you. Sometimes this is tax information, other details along those lines. If we do need to collect something from you, we will be contacting your student. Again, that's one of the first steps. So you get to start to give that student some more opportunity to take ownership of this process along the way as well. So we will be communicating if we need additional items directly with your student. So to talk about the federal programs, we're going to highlight the big one first. It's the federal Pell Grant. Again, you apply for this by submitting a FAFSA. The award amount is determined by that expected family contribution, and that's really the calculation that the FAFSA provides. So the maximum award, it did go up a little bit. It's now, I think it's over $7,000. But right now for this year, the maximum award is $6,845. And so you can kind of see too, if you have a 0 expected family contribution, you're going to get the maximum amount. But even if your EFC is not 0, as long as it's below 6,200, you're still going to get something from the government. So just to give you some perspective on that. If you qualify for the federal Pell Grant, we also look to see if you're eligible for something called Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, or SEOG. And for that one, the maximum award is $1,000. So if you're looking at Pell and your SEOG money together, both of those are free money, if you will, that you wouldn't have to pay back. If you are an Illinois resident attending a school in Illinois, the FAFSA also allows you to apply for state grant dollars. And so the Illinois MAP program is the largest state grant program in Illinois, and that maximum award there is $7,200. Now, if you are not able to fill out a FAFSA for whatever reason, citizenship or otherwise, you can fill out something called the Illinois Alternative Application. You can get to that from the Illinois Student Assistance Commission website, and that will act just like the FAFSA and allow your student to apply for the Illinois MAP grant. So again, the kicker with that is you do have to graduate from an Illinois high school. That's the main one. But again, it doesn't take too much time to fill that application out, and you would still qualify for the $7,200 if you met the eligibility criteria.
Michelle, can we go back a screen to talk a little bit more about SEOG?
Yes. So SEOG, just to give some additional details around that, it is a limited fund that we receive at Roosevelt University. So not every student that is Pell eligible will receive it, just because we receive it's a fairly small amount. But for those students, the reason we can't give it to everyone is it is prioritized for Pell students. But again, the main thing is filling out that FAFSA so that we can kind of see where student may qualify for Pell, and then look at that second consideration for SEOG.
Okay, thank you. And then for those that wanted to that requested about the school code, it's 001749. If you've already done your FAFSA, it's simply a matter of going back into the website and making a correction and adding Roosevelt school code, which again is 001749. Thanks, Michelle.
Yep. All right. All right, moving on. Okay, so let's talk about some of the Roosevelt programs. On the slide here, I've got a lot of different pieces that are part of the Roosevelt funded programs. A lot of them are awarded initially by your admission counselor. So hopefully your student knows who their admission counselor is and has provided them with all the information they need to make a decision about their academic scholarships. So just to kind of highlight those, they range from 1,000 to 3,000, and it really is tied to your student's GPA. And that's either their high school GPA or their transfer GPA that they're bringing in if they are transferring from another school. We are test optional, so your ACT or SAT information is not necessarily needed to determine your academic scholarships, but your transcripts are. So even unofficial transcripts can help us make a decision related to your academic scholarships. The other program that we have is our need-based grant that we just call the Roosevelt Grant. This one, we do look at the FAFSA information to make a determination around how much a family might receive through that program. And very similar, it can be up to $3,000. It can also be $5,000. It just depends on what your FAFSA is telling us as part of that process. The opportunity grant is for students who are unable to fill out a FAFSA. So for a lot of students, due to citizenship reasons, are not able to submit a FAFSA. And so we do have the opportunity grant to assist those students. I know that we had some international students register for the webinar tonight. And I do just want to mention that the opportunity grant is not for students that are studying on a visa. So just to clarify that part. The other option that we have is for students that are living in the residence hall. We do have a housing grant available for students that is also tied to the FAFSA. Are you seeing a theme here? The FAFSA is probably the most important piece of this whole thing, is doing that FAFSA, because everything is kind of tying back to that FAFSA information. So depending on what your expected family contribution, the housing grant can range from $2,000 to $4,000. So again, another good reason to take a few minutes to get your FAFSA submitted. Federal direct loans is the traditional student loan. So if you, when you were in college, took out student, it's been around for a very long time. And so as a first-year student coming in, they can borrow a maximum of $5,500. So $3,500 of that would be subsidized, which means there's no interest accruing while they're in school. And $2,000 of that it could be unsubsidized, or the whole $5,500 could be unsubsidized. Again, it kind of ties back to the other types of aid that you're getting, as well as your FAFSA details kind of reveal that to us. And you can see here that the first year they get that $3,500, $2,000, and then the next year it goes up a little bit to $4,500 and $2,000. And then for their junior and senior years, it goes up a little bit more to $5,500 and $2,000. So each year that they're in school, they'll be able to borrow a little bit more. And the interest rates right now are at 4.99%. But just know that rates do change on an annual basis. They may go up a little bit or down a little bit, depending on the decision that's made. Probably in May is when we'll find that information out. Some other loan options that are available. The first one to talk about is the Parent Plus loan, where the parent is the borrower. The interest rate on this particular loan is 7.54%. It is credit based, like other traditional loans that may look at your debt to income ratio. The part that's a little bit unique with the parent loans is they don't look at that. They mainly look at if you are paying your obligations on time, if you're not delinquent on your accounts. So some folks that say, well, I don't have the best credit, are still able to qualify for that plus loan. So just to give you some comfort in that area. Also, the parents can borrow a proof that you have great credit. Looking at a private loan might be a better choice for you because you might qualify for a rate that is better than the 7.54%. So just some food for thought there. Additionally, the student can also borrow a private loan because they haven't established a lot of credit on their own. They will likely need a cosigner to be on that application. And so the stronger the credit of the cosigner, the better the interest rate, the lower the fees. But we do have a great tool on the Roosevelt website called Credible. So if you go out to the Roosevelt website, go into the search bar, type in Credible. You'll have to scroll down a little bit on the page when you see it pop up. But you can take about 5 minutes, 10 minutes to fill out some information, and it will kind of like compare the different private loan choices that you have available and show you interest, fees, and how much it would cost over the life of the loan so that you can really make a good decision about which option is going to make the most sense for you if that's something that you're looking at. To talk about work study, we have 2 programs on campus. One is through the federal work study program, and it is a need-based employment program, and you apply for that through FAFSA. So the nice thing about working on campus in general is it is based around your students' classes. So the reason that they're at Roosevelt is to go to class and earn that degree. But while they're on campus, it makes great sense for them to take some time and maybe work a few hours here and there and earn a little extra money while they're on campus. Students can earn up to $5,500 annually, and we do pay competitive at $17 an hour. So that's pretty competitive. The minimum wage within the city of Chicago is just a little bit more than 15. So we're a little bit better than what they might find at some other places near campus. If your student does not qualify for federal work study, all is not lost. We still have employment opportunities for students that aren't eligible for work study. It kind of functions the exact same way. They would still be paid $17 an hour. The work schedule is based around their classes. So still lots of options for them to have a little spending money while they're working their job on campus. We also support all the veteran benefits programs. I just kind of listed them here. We have a gentleman on campus. His name is Kevin Smith, and he's the director of our Veterans Center. And if you are transferring benefits to your student, if your student is eligible for any of the dependent educational assistance or Chapter 35, he is the guy to talk to. He's the one that will collect all the documentation and the paperwork and do all of the back and forth with the VA to process those benefits. But I just wanted you to see all the different programs that Roosevelt participates in because we have a really good veterans population on campus. So now to look at some options that are kind of beyond the scope of financial aid. I wanted to, before we jump into that, I wanted to show you a couple of examples of financial aid offers. We're going to look at one that is for a commuter student in case I saw we have so many Chicago with us today. So students might be commuting. And then we also have an example of someone. Give me 1 second. Well, we're going to my Chrome browser here in just a second. All right, so hopefully all of you can see this award letter. So is my and the other award letter example that I'll be sharing with you is Cooper, which is Michelle's dog. So we are dog lovers here in the financial aid services area. But Eddie is living on campus. Cooper is commuting, but so Eddie's living on campus. So for some of you, I know that you've gotten financial aid offers from Roosevelt already. Others have not. So just again, to remind you how to get a financial aid offer from Roosevelt, there's two pieces. One is the FAFSA. So we need the FAFSA. And number two is being admitted. So if your student is admitted and we have your FAFSA, this is what we would send to the student. It is sent as both an email and a text message. And within that is a hyperlink that will take you to the financial aid offer you're seeing on the screen. It is also mobile friendly, so you can look at it on your mobile phone. The only real difference is this green kind of bar that you're seeing on the right-hand side is actually at the very bottom, but everything else is all there. So just to kind of walk through what you're seeing to explain some of the details, there's a lot of tools that kind of help guide you. So if you see a question mark, that's going to give you some definitions of things that you can see. But I wanted to highlight the direct costs. So when we say direct costs, these are the items that Roosevelt will bill you for. So in this case, Eddie is living on campus. So he's going to be billed for both tuition and fees, plus his housing and his meal plan. Now, the housing and meal plan that you see there, that $12,845, that is kind of the average. We have a number of different options, different room types, different meal plans. So depending on what your student chooses, that could be less, that number could be more. But for the financial aid offer, we just kind of go with the average to give you an example to work from. The other piece here is direct costs. And if you click on this, it gives you some other options to think about. So Roosevelt is not going to bill you for these items called indirect costs, but we know that these are costs that families need to think about. So your student's going to need books. Your student is going to may need assistance traveling to and from campus. For personal expenses, they may need a laptop. They might need new clothes, backpack, all things. So try to think about all the items that you might be choosing to pay for out of pocket and factor those in for those indirect costs. But again, Roosevelt's not billing you for them, but we know and understand that these are costs that families still need to think about when your student is going to school. So we can hide that. So now the next section is looking at the scholarships and grants. And so Eddie is eligible for an Illinois MAP grant. So you can see that that state grant is listed there. It does give you, again, a little pop-up so you can kind of see some additional information. That question mark will give you some more details as you're understanding what you're looking at. And then Eddie is also eligible for an academic scholarship, a Roosevelt grant, and also a housing grant. So all of that, just looking at the scholarships and grants, which is, money that won't have to be paid back, Eddie is qualified for $12,260. And I do want to mention, so you can see, break things out by fall and spring. When we disperse financial aid to students, we look at it as 2 semesters. So you'll always get half of it for the fall and half of it for the spring. And the tuition that you see up here, this $20,000, that's also divided in half. So it would be $10,000 would be charged for the fall, $10,000 would be charged for the spring. So we kind of break everything down to help spread those costs over the course of 2 semesters to help you and just to make sure that it is lining up and making sense. So if we subtract this 32,845 minus this 12,260, that gives us our net cost. So again, you can work with that. Think about it, divide it by 2. And so half of that would be due for the fall and the other half would be due for the spring. But Eddie is also eligible for some student loans. So we have some options here for Eddie. So Eddie would be eligible for up to $9,500 in student loans. So if he chose to take all of that, well, now his out-of-pocket cost would go from this $20,000 to this $11,085. And so now that would be divided, half of that for fall and half of that for spring. So the next few pieces here under the details just give you buttons to kind of take your student to some important steps that they need to take. The first one takes you out to the student portal where they can officially accept their financial aid offer. And we also say decline because if Eddie doesn't the loans at all, he can decline the loans through that student portal as well. The next button here is for missing documents. I mentioned that we might follow up with your student about additional documents. And so this is where they'll see the list of what those are. And in most cases, they can take a picture and just upload it with their phone. And this last button here is for activating their net ID, which should probably really be the first button now that I'm thinking about this, because they're going to have to activate their net ID to log into these other places. So we have some instructions here to help your student activate their net ID. So they can click on any of these links and it will take them to the spot where they can, set their username, set their password, and get everything squared away so they can complete these other steps pretty easily. Just to talk about the left-hand navigation, the right-hand navigation, it's just kind of a high-level overview of the information. We do have some videos to understand what you're looking at too. So the videos are all short. So if you wanted to better understand financial aid offers, you can watch this quick video. If you want to understand the difference between a grant and a loan, you can also watch that video. All right, so now we're going to stop this share and we're going to go back. We're going to go back and I'll show you the other example here real quick. So you can see what a commuter one would look like. All right, so this is Cooper. So Cooper is housing. You can also campus. All the other allocate info details related to indirect costs. Again, Roosevelt's not charging you for these, but it's still. We also outline all the scholarships and grants first. So if you just want to do scholarships and grants, this would be what Cooper would owe for, fall and spring combined. If Cooper wanted to do the student loans, well, look at that. Cooper would owe nothing because his loans would cover any remaining balance that he had. So just to kind of give you the difference between the two. So when your student receives their financial aid offer, you'll have a better understanding of what you're looking at. All right, so now we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. There's just a few pieces left for us to talk about. And then, is it sharing? I don't think it's sharing. Let's try this again. Oh, there it goes. Okay, I was on delay. Okay. So there's that part. All right. So just to mention, we do have a payment plan available. So in June, our payment plan would open up. So if you think back to Cooper and Eddie and how they had, that portion that was due, they could put their fall balance into 5 installments and break that up into 5 payments. So it would be June, July, August, September, and October would be the installments. It does cost $45 to enroll in that plan. There's also some scholarship search options available. There's the College Board, which is a great resource. You can look at, they have unique scholarships. They have scholarships for certain degree programs. So it's definitely worth checking out. If you just Google College Board scholarships, it'll take you right to their site. There's also the My Scholly app, which was on Shark Tank. So it's very popular, but it is right on their phone and gives them some resources and makes it easy to apply. The biggest one is always their local community. So if your high school guidance counselor, think about public organizations like Lions Club or other folks within your local community may have scholarships available. Another good source is, for example, if your student wants to be an accountant, looking at professional associations that are tied to their career path, because they may have scholarships for students looking to join that career path. Some other options to think about as well is the 529 college savings plans. So if you know that you've got a 529 plan, we have an individual in the financial aid services office that can help you with the invoicing, help you request those funds to make it pretty seamless as your students coming to Roosevelt. Additionally, we have agencies that we work with too. So if your student is eligible for Department of Human Services or other types of funds, we can also assist with those too. Now, if something has changed in your situation, we know that life happens, jobs change, medical situations can happen. If your FAFSA does not reflect where your family is financially now, that is something that we can help you with. So if you let us know what's going on, we can actually go in, update your FAFSA to better reflect where you are, but we do need a documentation to do that. So we might need a pay stub, we might need medical bills, we might need other things too, but please, if something happens, let us know so that we can come in and help. The steps for you, if you haven't worked on that FAFSA, make that your number one priority so we can make sure that we get that financial aid offer sent. Also, I want to plug our Admitted Student Day. That's Saturday, March 25th. It's going to be a great event, opportunities for you and your student to meet the deans of the different colleges, connect with professors, meet other students, talk to financial aid services, talk to Residence Life, talk to all the folks involved in student activities. But it's an awesome day. So once your student is admitted, if they're not already, they will get the invitation to join us. But if your student is admitted, they haven't registered, please register right away. We'd love to have you and love to meet you all in person. So the last thing is our Roosevelt Family Hub. So when we were going to do this presentation a couple weeks ago, it was coming soon, but now it's live. And so this is really for parents. This is for family members. This is for those folks that are supporting our students as they're looking to begin their journey at Roosevelt. So for those parent information that we did have access to already, because your student provided it, we've sent an email so that you can get this and log in, create a profile, and take a look at all of the resources that are there. It provides you with a way to connect with other families. You can be part of different communities, but it also kind of keeps you in the loop with all the things that are happening at Roosevelt. So you'll find out about events. You'll learn more about Admitted Student Day. There'll be news stories and important things for you to be aware of, especially as you're moving through this important process of deciding on a college for your student. And so lastly, financial aid services, we are here to help you. You can visit us in person. We're in the Wabash building on the mezzanine level, but you can also reach us by email, by phone. We also have Zoom available as well, if that's a better option. However you want to connect with us, we want to connect with you, and of course, answer any questions that you might have. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing, hopefully, and then we'll open it up for any questions that might be in the chat or other questions that you have.
I tried to answer most of them using the private chat so that our teams can put them out there. But most of the questions were basically, do the students receive a financial aid offer if they filled out the alternative application? And the answer is yes, they do.
Mm-hmm. They do.
We actually pull that information down frequently from the state. And so we plot into our system and they're worked. And basically the alternative application is just in place of the FAFSA.
Yeah. 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 Well, I see so many great questions. Yes, please come to Admitted Student Day. Parents are welcome, encouraged. Please come. So yes, we'd love to have you. Students bring guests to that event. We actually have a portion of our agenda that is just for parents. So it's good information for both you and your student. Yeah, please come.
As far as the school of, yes, there may be additional considerations for CCPA. Additions may be required, and then you may qualify for school of scholarships. So you would really need to, this is specifically for CCPA, because that is one of the questions that are in here in the chat. So I would say, reach out to your admissions counselor. I know that they've already been holding auditions for the fall, and the scholarship amounts are based on performance. So it is based on the audition.
Yeah. And I see another question regarding the FAFSA and that you haven't received a financial aid offer. If you would email fas@roosevelt.edu with your student's name, we can research that tomorrow and see if it's something that we're waiting on the admission side or something that we're missing on the financial aid side, so that we can get that offer out for you as quickly as we can.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that the initial question was that you had done the FAFSA, but you don't know if you added Roosevelt. So it's just a matter of going into the FAFSA website, making a correction, and you can actually add Roosevelt school code there, or you can view it before you make the correction and see if Roosevelt was already on there. If it wasn't on the initial submission, then you want to make that correction first and add our school code 001749. It does take a bit of time for us to get it. I would say, 3 to 5 business days typically. And then we can work on getting your award offer out to you.
Yeah.
This is being recorded to view later. I'm just going through some of the questions on the chat, so you guys can certainly pull this up.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's anything else. The pricing for the quad bedrooms is on the Roosevelt's website under tuition and fees, and you want to look specifically at 2324. And the housing information is probably scrolled all the way down to the bottom. But that does give the pricing for 2324 Wabash Center quad rooms, I believe. I don't.
And the housing application will open in March. So we will send a communication out to the students that have paid a deposit. You do have to be admitted and deposited student to get the information on the housing application, but that will be sent out in March. So soon, because it's almost March now.
Parents are certainly welcome to come alone. If your student can't come on March 25th, that is one of the questions. We would like your student to come, But if you're coming for additional information, we are happy to have you. It's our experience shows that the more involved the parents are, the more successful the child is or the student is in their education. And the final question is, if you don't live in the United States, how can you qualify for the FAFSA? And the answer is you really can't. You would be considered an international student unless you have, citizenship paperwork for the United States, and then you would be bound under, the the Department of Homeland and Security guidelines with the I-20 and stuff.
Great. Any other questions? These are great questions. Lots of good questions.
If you haven't put your question out, the housing application actually will be opening, I believe you said, what was it, March?
It's in March. Yeah.
Exactly.
I know it'll be within the first couple weeks of March.
Okay.
So just hang in there, but we will definitely communicate with your student and let them know. And then also, I'm guess this is probably something that will be on the parent portal as well. So if you haven't created your profile for the parent portal, definitely do that, because that's going to be your way to be in the know of all the things that are happening at Roosevelt.
And I'm going to add that if there's any other questions that you have, financial aid is here to help. We want all the questions answered as soon as possible so that you can make an informed decision. We hope that Roosevelt's right for you. Our email address is F as in Frank, A as in Apple, S as in Sam @roosevelt.edu. Please feel free to reach out to us. If you have your student's ID number, your RU ID number, that would be helpful. So that we can make sure that we're looking at the correct account. We do have many names that are common, and we don't want to give wrong information. We want to make sure that we have the most accurate information so that we can help you.
All right. Well, it looks like the questions have slowed down a little bit. So I do just want to thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your questions, your engagement with us. This is our first time offering this type of a session for parents, and I'm just excited that we had such great attendance and so many folks that wanted to learn more about the financial aid process and Roosevelt University. As Michelle mentioned, this is being recorded, so you can watch it again and again and again. But we do want to thank you for your time and have a great evening. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
Bye.